Guys, so I just listened to this stream called hashtag Stop Slaving Saudi Women. It's one of four Focus Break Habib's videos. This video is actually from a while back, and I've only recently come across it because of Crowd and T's recent video. He made a video about apparently this YouTuber Habib. He was recently banned from Twitter because of his anti-Islam activisms. So I've been focusing on a lot of Crowd and T's videos lately just because he makes a lot of videos on social issues and he directs you to other channels. So that's how I came across this stream. And I really just want to give my thought on the matter. Basically, this video stream is about the guardianship law in Saudi Arabia. Basically, a woman must have a male guardian pretty much at all times to be able to do anything, even leaving the house. You know, it sucks and it sounds terrible. But I just had to bring up men's issues in Saudi Arabia, which as far as I know has not been talked about very much. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is not because somehow I'm a men's rights activist. I'm not really even a human rights activist because I'm kind of an Apple anthrope. It's just a word I made up, meaning that I kind of don't give a shit. But the reason why I felt the need to bring it up is because in this particular stream, sure, you know, focus on women's issues, do whatever you want. It's not that I think that they need to bring it up in this particular stream. But it's just because that I personally despise propaganda with a passion. I despise something that's been talked about so much that it either covers up or compromises the other half of the truth. Now, I'm not saying that Habib is doing this necessarily. We did have a pleasant exchange at his comment section. But my overall impression of this guy is that he's kind of overly championed women, to the extent that he's throwing these highly unfunny jokes constantly. I mean, I swear, they are so bad that when I was listening to this with a friend of mine, we both made a joke about these bad jokes that he's talking about. Might be the reason why he's banned from Twitter, because they're just so bad that it might have embarrassed the entire male gender. It's that bad. I mean, here's some examples.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, this is what you get when you have Saudi women. You talk to one, all of them want to reply at the same time. So you guys, I mean, this is what happens when you give women some, some attention. They're like, yeah, okay. She heard about it from other girls. She's never done it. She's asking me, how did I meet girls when I was in Saudi? Yeah. Dude, when you look this good, you don't have to work that hard for it.
What do you suggest?
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm asking a question here, and you're giving me a lousy answer. So I just told you that's a lousy answer. If she can make good sandwiches, we can talk about it. Yeah, I mean, you get a bunch of women together in a hashtag, they start whining. That's what women do.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can.
So this stream is actually pretty damn hilarious. I mean, I had a really good time listening to it. I do think it has too little views. I think it's a very important stream that people should watch, mostly just because these women guests that he brings on, they are probably the most genuine, honest women I've ever listened to when it comes to talking about women's issues. In fact, they're so honest and so genuine that Habib, every single time he's doing something kind of like trying to bolster how bad the situation is for Saudi Arabian women, and or even sort of blame the male gender in some way or another. At least, that's kind of the impression I got. He gets stumped, which is really funny. So I'm just gonna go through this video, not the entire thing, but several places, so you can see what I'm talking about. So enjoy.
Still live in Saudi?
Yeah, I still live here, and I'm suffering. I am بنات شو يسمونها اللي معنفة.
She's a physically abused girl.
Yeah. So And in my family, we have just boys, and I am the only girl.
You're the second child
Yeah.
of a family of four, a family of five. So
Yeah.
when you say that you're physically abused, is it just the father?
Oh, of course, it's the father who is the abuser. Who else could it be?
Or is it
Actually,
the
no.
brothers as well?
At first, my mom, and then my brothers start to trace me bad after she do that, you know.
Whoops. Yes, who would have thought that women can abuse their children, right? There isn't actually a simple explanation for this, which is that generally speaking in human societies, it's much easier for women to hit other females, but it's actually much harder for a man to hit other females. And of course, the brothers would then start to do it too, if you have a mother doing this. I don't know how young this started, but assuming that since this is an ultra conservative family where the woman is the primary caretaker who stays at home to raise the children, and the man is the one who works. Children model everything after their mother, especially in the first few years of their lives. And those are the critical periods. I actually know a case quite similar regarding a Chinese couple who were friends of my mother's. They had a girl first, and before their second child, everybody adored that little girl. And she was polite and smart and seems to have possessed a great personality. Then they had a second child, which happened to be a son. Not long afterwards, the girl started to become rather violent in school, stabbing her classmates with pencils, tearing up her homework, and was sent to the principal numerous times. So what happened? Well, the parents, especially the mother, started to abuse her. She treated her son and her daughters differently, just like this woman. She showed open affection and love towards the younger brother and reject the older sister. And whenever the younger brother did something wrong, she blamed it on the girl, not the boy who actually did the thing wrong. So basically, the girl grew up to be a complete teenage bitch. I hope she will be okay as an adult, but you never know. The point is, women, as mothers especially, have enormous power to mold the society, to raise their children to be better or worse. That's the same everywhere. It ain't just Saudi Arabia.
Would wait by the door and wait for her boyfriend to come pick her up. They go and spend the entire day together.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, even the boyfriend has to miss work because they have to pretend that they're going to do something that they should, and while they're doing something that they should not.
They are suffering to do that.
The boys are suffering too. I think she said something here that she wasn't supposed to say.
Well, my sister has got divorced like I don't know, a year and a half ago, and she got custody of all of her 4 kids. They're all over 7, so that must be good. I mean,
How did she get them? Did the father give her the permission to get them, or
And here we go again.
did she
no,
get them by
the
force?
judge to pay,
Okay.
and she has to pay money to get that.
Yeah, she has to pay back her dowry,
Yeah,
and sometimes she has to pay back all the money that was spent on her.
yeah. Well, the good thing about the story that my sister didn't pay anything. It's mostly like 50 harira just to get divorced. Can you believe that? It's just
Wow, 50 halal is like
I think the judge just didn't like the man
10
because
cents or something.
yeah, she didn't have to prove anything. She just the lawyer, which is a female also, told the judge all the stories that he beat her and he doesn't teach her kids right. Her youngest daughter have diabetes.
Diabetes.
Yes.
Wow. So a woman in Saudi Arabia apparently won a case without having to bring any type of evidence that her husband was abusive. Now, isn't that interesting? So, according to this stream, the custody and divorce laws in Saudi Arabia seem to be contrary to everywhere else that I've heard, even some from other Islamic countries such as Iran. Well, I'm just wondering, what if it's a man who initiates a divorce? Is it still the woman who pays all the fees? Because the law could be that whoever initiates the divorce is forced to pay a shitloads of money to discourage divorce in general in such a society. So if that's the case, then again, it's not necessarily a gendered issue for this specific thing, even if women are still at a disadvantage practically because of the guardianship law and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think in Saudi Arabia, the woman issues depends on her luck. Like if she got like like a kind judge, so the judge gonna be fair.
Pretty much the same everywhere. Lawyers suck and judges suck.
You don't even get that. You don't get a phone with internet connection because you might go on Facebook and meet other men. That's evil. So do you think that's still the case? Because right now there's no phone that you can get that doesn't have access to these kind of things.
No, I don't know anybody that can't have phone. But in villages, like some girls do some Twitter account or Facebook account, and her brother doesn't know about that because her brother doesn't allow her. But the families, like the mother and the father, are more acceptable.
The mother and the father are accepting this person to have a Facebook account, but not the brother. Again, isn't that interesting? So both parents are actually okay with this, but it's the brother who is the one who has a problem with it. Of course, sibling rivalry is unheard of outside Saudi Arabia. And I'm also seeing the trend, which is that these women are raised in a family of predominantly males. So obviously they would be at a disadvantage, especially in such a ultra-conservative society, since the family would have 4 or 5 male heirs who would then earn money, and they can even eventually take care of the parents in their old age if need be. But the daughter will be a burden, and she has to be married off. In the West, when a boy is raised with all sisters, the power play, so to speak, reverses.
So what's the next action?
What's the next action?
I think we should, I don't know, separate the culture from the law and focus on the law more than the culture. The culture will change after the human rights are being approved and protected. I think that's the thing that you focus.
Yeah.
So we wanna the world sees that we are strong women and we are capable of doing our things. We don't need a male guardian. So this is the main message.
You wonder why these women won't be heard very much? This is why. Because they tell it like it is. They actually act like normal, decent human beings, which is not the provocation that their ultra goofball white knight host is appearing to be looking for. That's why.
Well, women are being provided for. I mean, what do they want? Yeah. And I think this is the smart thing that you guys were starting with.
They
this
don't
message.
even
Like,
provide for us.
here's the thing.
We beg for it.
Women beg to be provided for by men. Now, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have a point about this because in the hashtag a lot of people comes to me and bring like very bad examples in the Western society, but I tell them that I want to be like Kuwaiti women, like Bahraini women, like women in UAE. Those are like the perfect examples for us.
Well,
If my friend is...
I wouldn't say they're perfect.
Yeah, tell them what's good for them, because obviously Saudi Arabian women have absolutely no autonomy whatsoever and don't know what's good for them when they say that they don't want to be like American girls and that they still want to be Arabian women. It sort of reminded me of this comment exchange between Alison Tiemann and this guy, where Alison linked an article which showed that, in fact, Saudi Arabian women voiced that they don't actually want to drive. And this guy basically rambled on about, well, it's because they don't know what's good for them. And Alison sternly said, sure, because somehow you know better than these women, because everybody has to look at things from Western lens.
But compared to what you guys are having, I don't blame you for seeing them as perfect. I want to leave the Middle East for good.
I really have noticed a lot more women are entering the workforce, and you were asking like what should people be doing. I mean, I think education is a really important part. I have a lot of my female friends. I mean, they're very smart young women, but they don't pursue their education as much as they should because they feel it's a lost cause. They feel like they're going to go through those college years and then sit at home and just raise kids, you know? But they should take it a lot more seriously, and so that they can use it to, you know, make opportunities for themselves.
This woman should honestly be the president.
More basically, yeah, all of you are religious, but do you consider or discuss in your human rights and this rights movement that we're trying to get together, do you want to discuss homosexual rights, like gay and lesbian rights in Saudi, or do you want to focus on just the liberation of women for the time being?
I think we need to pay
No, I
attention
don't.
to that. Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Wow, Saudi Arabian women have their own views about the LGBTQ movement, and they might not agree with it?
Grim, he says, why do you think the Western media largely ignores the struggle of Saudi women and human rights in general? Because,
Maybe
yeah,
because they have their own problems.
I think it has to do with U.S. and U.S. and Saudi relations. You know, I mean, I kind of think of Saudi Arabia as America's bitch. You know.
it's not only that. I think right now the Western media in general are, they're pretty much controlled by the liberal parties.
You see how wise and open-minded these women are? The first thing that comes out of their mouth isn't because it's the patriarchy or because the West just doesn't care about women's rights enough. They answered in the most logical and obvious way. Well, the West have their own problems. Why should they care about our problems since we are of a different nation? They have enough of their own problems that they have to tackle with. This is the same everywhere except the West. And these women understood that. They can understand that, for example, Saudi Arabia would not have given a rat's ass about the problems going on in the West if those problems have nothing to do with them. But sure, Mr. White Knight, tell them again what to think.
We're gonna end up, yeah, we're already going for 1 hour 25 minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time, so we're gonna close at 1 hour and a half. So I'll give each one of you a closing statement, even though I have Renata that joined us and stayed muted, but it's good for her to join us, or him, I don't know. Anyway, let's start with the far left. We have someone who made it back. Lufton, how are you?
Hi.
So let's have a final word from you, please. Is there a closing statement that you want to say?
No.
I mean, I think that people just need to become more aware. Women need to, take responsibility for what they want. They need, just like I said, they need to be clear on their message. They need to be able to find the opportunities for them to take them. Like I said, educate yourself, be loud about it. Don't just be, a yes person. So.
I think a woman should speak up more. I mean, don't think that your science would do you any good. That's all I can say.
What do you mean? I didn't really get what you meant.
I mean, like I said before, people are telling us to why you're doing this, why you're speaking up, stay quiet, it's not gonna change. I think that even speaking out is gonna make a difference, gonna change at least the people. More people will listen, more people understand more people speak up more against this injustice.
I want to tell women that speak up, please. Don't stay silent and talk about your problems. And don't feel ashamed to say that I'm physically abused. And I want to tell men that please, educate yourself. It's not always the traditions and culture are the real Islam. So and please respect each others, because I'm receiving a lot of cursing and swearing on the hashtag when I write something.
Yep, they're never gonna be hurt again. Too wise, man.
It was kind of fun.
I think Saudi men don't wanna us to get our human right. I don't know why. I wonder why that's.
They're gonna lose some power, some controlling power, of course.
So this is actually the very first time that a potential man-blaming has been brought up by one of these women. But listen to how it's phrased. She said that she doesn't actually know why that she perceived that Saudi Arabian men are not on board with helping the women getting their rights. In her mind, it should be pretty obvious. Hey, your women are suffering, so you as men should do something about it. She does not use the speech of conviction, even when she perceived that the men are not helping her. But yeah, buddy, keep telling her what to think. So, what I concluded from this conversation, from this stream, is this. Saudi Arabia has some really shitty laws. This guardianship law seems to be directed specifically at women, but in practice, it probably also shifts quite a lot of responsibility onto men's shoulders. But of course, we won't be hearing anyone talking about that except maybe the Badgers, from whom I took the red pill. However, in terms of what is happening in practice, in reality, it is much more nuanced and complicated.
They felt oppressed by a lot of things, but they felt oppressed by their husbands. They were oppressed by, working in houses where they were raped by their employers. They were oppressed by, if they had any sexual experience, they could never marry, and so they had to become prostitutes, and then they were used up and couldn't make a living, and then they had to go to the workhouses. They were oppressed by pregnancies they couldn't avoid. They were oppressed by not being able to get access to contraception.
And men were oppressed by being pressed into service in the merchant marines, and they were oppressed by being drafted into war, and they were oppressed by being forced and being jailed if they failed to provide the necessities of life to their wives. It's not the oppression Olympics. It was shit for everybody. That's not gender oppression.
Of course, bad laws are bad laws, and they should be changed when they're bad. But when you give so much power and responsibility to a certain group of people or groups of people, they shape what is actually happening. So as these women brought up, if the father or their husbands are not actually abusing the women, if they're making sure that the women are living a good life, then the women will live a good life. If the judges or other officials do decide in the women's favor or let the women do whatever they want, then the women will live a decent life. So laws and culture and religion do not always reflect all of the real situation, which heavily depends on how people actually behave towards each other. From what I've learned so far, Saudi Arabia seems to be an ultra-conservative society. One that's so conservative that in our current time, especially by Western standards, it's backward from this perspective. But people by and large do still follow certain fundamental human behaviors, the most important being that violence in general are directed much harsher towards men than towards women. And I'm even more convinced of this when I saw this video from the Masked Arab. So this is a gruesome video about a woman about to be stoned to death for adultery after she's been disowned by her father. Now pay close attention to what's actually being said.
الإسلام هو الاستسلام لله والانقياد له بالطاعة، ماشي؟ هل أنت راضي بحد الله؟ طيب، عندك كلمة مع بنتك؟ لا، سامحها لا، سامحها. طيب، أنا ماني أبوك، لا. طيب، أنت لست أباها، ولكن سامحها. 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 كلمة، وأنت الآن مقبل على تطبيق حد من حدود الله سبحانه وتعالى. ماذا تقولين وماذا تريدين وماذا تنصحين؟ قولي آخر كلام لك قبل انتقالك من هذه الدنيا إلى الآخرة. تكلم.
أنصح كل حرمة.
علي صوتك.
أنصح كل حرمة.
نعم.
والصورة.
نعم.
تحافظ على عرضها أكثر ما تحافظ على روحها.
جيد.
سامحني. سامحني.
الله يسامحك.
Now, these people who are doing this to this poor woman are practically thugs. The father looks obviously like some low life from a trashy rural area, completely uneducated and uncivilized. And again, there are people like that outside of the Islamic world too. And the other faith militant are also a bunch of violent punks. Yet, what did they say about what they believed they needed to do? They asked the father to forgive his daughter. And when the father says, "I'm not her father," they still said, "Okay, whatever, so you're not her father, but forgive her anyways, how about that?" And when the father rejects and starts to move away, the faith militant said to this woman in an almost apologetic tone, "Well, there it is, sister. But say a few last words and it's all gonna be over soon. There's almost a sense of trying to comfort her in some way. Do you think that if this woman was a man, they would have done something like this? Somehow, I sincerely doubt it. Not from what I've seen, and not from what I've read. And these are the lowest of the violent, trashy human beings. And yet, when it's a woman, they still don't feel completely at ease doing something like this to her. They still want her to be almost as if they want her to be spared somehow. This is the blue pill that we've been fed over and over again. Harming a woman is just so much worse than harming a man. Just like harming a child is so much worse than harming an adult. This is something that we've been conditioned to feel and to accept. So when you have serious problems in places like Saudi Arabia that affect women specifically, we think the place is uniquely horrible, even though those problems probably also affect men just as much, if not more. We just don't know all of the situation. If you have a country where women are having the time of their lives and men are suffering so much, would anyone raise an eyebrow? No. That country will probably be praised for how progressive it is. Now, an interesting question can be raised regarding the gender differences. If women are in as much power as men are in Saudi Arabia, would they treat their men better or worse than how the women are treated like in Saudi Arabia? It might be worse. And it might not be because of gender differences at all, but the differences between conservatism and liberalism. Basically, if you are so used to having so much power, and when you're given even more, you tend to abuse it less. On the other hand, if you never had any power and suddenly you're given a lot, you might abuse it far more. Maybe this is what's actually happening with feminism. And the lesson to be learned is this: swinging the pendulum towards the other way not only will not stop the pendulum from swinging, but it will swing even harder and farther.